Hockey wasn't, I grew up in Pittsburgh. Hockey wasn't a natural sport when I grew up. It wasn't what we played in gym class.
You know, I'm a product of the '60s, and it was all Steeler football.
Not in those days. It was all American football in those days. And I played high school. I was like Al Bundy. I played high school football, but I never scored 4 touchdowns in one game.
You know, Western Pennsylvania still is it's a football town in many respects. You know, and I don't know if that will ever change. The Steelers are awesome. Like, it's a cool thing. It was one of those things that really I was struck by when I got here. I'm blown away with how many Steelers jerseys I saw in church on Sunday. You know.
Pittsburgh is the Steel City, first defined by the steel mills that fueled Pittsburgh's growth. As the mills began to close one by one, the success of the professional football team, the Steelers, transformed Pittsburgh into the city of champions. The legacy of the Steelers is long, filled with glory and triumph. Where do other sports fit in Pittsburgh when football looms so large? How did a hockey team become a dynasty when rinks were in short supply? How did soccer become the most popular participation sport in a city where terrible towels are sold on every corner? What are the challenges of developing sport in the Steel City?
I was in high school in the 70s. The Pirates were very good. The Steelers were becoming very good. Hockey was almost an afterthought. It was a small cult, even of fans. The Penguins weren't very good, weren't very popular. When I played in high school, there were 6 rinks in Pittsburgh. So the reason Pittsburgh produced no players is you really couldn't get on the ice. It was just kind of a recreation.
Minnesota, for example, the rinks are community owned, so there are a lot more of them. So that means it's easier to get kids access and ice time's cheaper. Here, we're limited for those kids that really want to play ice hockey. We're limited by the number of facilities. And really, if you take a look, there haven't been many built since 2000.
What changed for the Pittsburgh Penguins? How did they cement their place as one of the big 3 sports teams in the city?
That's the singular thing that changed. Really, the line of demarcation was the drafting of Mario Lemieux in 1984. That changed everything, not just because he was a great player and the Penguins then became a popular team, but it really spilled over into hockey development. All of a sudden, rinks started popping up. Kids, it was cool to be a hockey player. Kids wanted to play hockey. There weren't enough rinks. Back then there were 6. Now it's in the high 30s, 35, 36, 37 rinks. So that all it can be traced back to Mario's popularity and things changed.
For me, it was all about Mario. I was in the grocery business. He used to be in the grocery business a long time ago. And when he first was signed, you know, we were a sponsor. And the man was unbelievable. He was easy to work with, you know, understanding. That was my birth. He was the one that initiated the excitement.
Mario Lemieux gave life to hockey in Pittsburgh, but hockey had a distinct advantage over sports like soccer, which, for a long time, did not have a professional team in Pittsburgh. There was very little personal connection to soccer in the city, where diehard fans preferred American football to the football of the world.
Yeah, football, and we grew up playing baseball. We grew up playing football because there was a baseball field right 5-minute walk from our house. All the kids back in those days, kids in the neighborhood throughout the summer, every day you would just show up and just play pickup games all day until you went home, and then football during the wintertime.
To be honest, I was in Penn Hills, and basically in my backyard I played wiffle ball, I played football, baseball, basketball showed up. There was no idea what soccer was, and that's 1952 through 1959, 1960, those 8 or 9 years, there was no idea. And basically, it was only being played in the coal mining towns, actually. I don't know.
In New Jersey, everything's international, you know, so I grew up in a mostly Hispanic area. You know, the cool thing about that was that soccer was unavoidable. So there's always games in the local park. Even the basketball courts, the abandoned shopping center parking lots were used for soccer. You know, it was interesting. It was you know, when I arrived in Pittsburgh, I think the population in general was still way more of the old school mentality, the Steelers football mentality. A lot of the parents of the kids that I played with in Duquesne, these kids were from Western PA in some cases. and their parents never really played soccer. So the kids didn't grow up in a soccer culture. My parents were not soccer players, but I grew up in a soccer culture. The neighborhood wouldn't allow it any other way. And so it was interesting because I came here and I really got the sense that the parents were not soccer-centric in the household. And that affects the kids, that affects the culture, that affects the way everyone looks at the game. And really for me, that was a surprise. All I knew was soccer. I knew families that loved soccer, that were international, that were, soccer was what their grandparents played and their great-grandparents played, and it was just different in Western Pennsylvania.
Three majors. Some of these other cities that have, like Columbus, that's become like an unbelievable soccer city. Like that's become their main sport. So I would even say in sometimes it's probably bigger than their hockey down there, or it goes hand in hand. But they don't have a football team there. They don't have a baseball team there. So we've got your three major sports that are very successful. And so, in Western PA football, we're still just very much a football mentality here. And so as much as soccer has grown, I think we will always be football heavy here in this city too.
This project will look at how hockey and soccer have fit into the sporting landscape of Pittsburgh. How have these two sports coexisted in an already crowded market? How have they changed as sports worldwide have professionalized and globalized? How have these international processes, which have shaped hockey and soccer in Pittsburgh, impacted the development of young, eager players?